Hey you guys, so I made a video about Ballerina Farm. It's not as good as the other videos where they splice things in really well, but I wanted to just have my own go at it. And I did forget to mention that one of the content creators did look up the Dun & Bradstreet. She bought the report for the owner on the LLC for Ballerina Farm. And Hannah is not on it. She runs that farm equally. She's the face of the farm. She has 9 million followers, I believe, on TikTok, and he has a total of only like 100 some thousand followers. She is the face of that brand, and she is not on the LLC for that business. So that should tell you a little bit about the kind of man that we're dealing with here, or maybe by her choice that she chooses to be submissive. This is not an equal partnership. And I hope he has some good dick game, because unless he's fucking her well, this guy has got to go. But let's get into the video. Many ladies are already following Ballerina Farm, and they have gotten additional attention recently because of an article written in the Times by Megan Agnew. Meet the Queen of the Tradwives and her 8 children. So this article has gotten a lot of coverage, and many YouTubers have been making content about this interview. So some people are saying the interviewer was jealous, but apparently there are women, there are couples, and there are men who have really critiqued harshly this relationship. There's only one woman I saw who was really for this relationship, and she's a young woman who obviously has never been married or had children, and she aspires to be like a stay-at-home mom. But I want to say what's considered the traditional mom is a mom who has no economic power, who doesn't work, who's just home with the kids. And all these influencers, whether it's Nora Smith or Ballerina Farm, they're not traditional wives. They have careers. They have social media. They're followed by millions of people. So that's not really what is called like a stay-at-home mom. They're work-from-home moms. But nonetheless, this particular couple, Ballerina Farm. Now, why are they called Ballerina Farm? That's where I want to start out. Why are they called Ballerina Farm? So I want to start out with just a short, the first 3 clips I'm going to show you are from a YouTuber called Lael Hansen, and she has done a good job. She goes through the article. In the first clip, we're going to be seeing the author, and she's going to be, we're going to find out why it's called Ballerina Farm. In the second clip, I think I'll put these all together so that it'll be easier for me to edit this, because I'm just like not very good at editing. In the second clip, we're going to hear about how Hannah, after the birth of her 8th child, 2 weeks later, entered a beauty pageant. That's when I first heard about her. I'm like, whoa, okay. And then in the third clip, we're going to see a present that her husband gave her, because one thing that Hannah always really wanted was a trip to Greece. Now, what you have to know is that they're very, very wealthy. Like, the stove in their kitchen is like $40,000 stove. She wears free people to go milk the cows. Her husband's family owns JetBlue and several other airlines. They are wealthy. And they have 8 kids, and apparently what she really wanted for her birthday was a trip to Greece, and see what he gives her. So I'm going to roll those 3 clips and I'll be back.
I spent the day with them and their 8 children and animals, really out in the sticks of Utah in the middle of nowhere. And I asked her when we were standing on the side of the mountain, is this what you always wanted to do? Is this always where you wanted to be? And she said that actually she wanted to live in New York City. That was her dream. And she had wanted to be a ballerina.
You have right after Hannah had given birth to her latest daughter, Flora. Literally 12 days after giving birth, she went and did a pageant, because she's a gorgeous, stunning queen supermodel, 12 days after. She was literally breastfeeding her baby in between, wearing sequin dresses. And this is how the end of the article goes. And what happened to the sequin gowns? Well, they used to be in her bedroom cupboard, but with all of her stuff and Daniel's and Henry's and Charles and George and Francis and Lois and Martha's and Mabel's and Flora's, the cupboard got so full that there wasn't any more room, so Daniel put all of her dresses into the garage. What do you want? So around the time that the article came out, whether it was just before or after, a video comes out where Daniel is giving Hannah a birthday present. Now, this woman has pushed out 8 of his children, given up all of her dreams for his, and she is so excited because she wants to open up this birthday present. She's really excited because she hopes that they're tickets to Greece.
It was my birthday present from Daniel. Hoping they're tickets to Greece.
Where's it from?
I don't know, the boys took it off.
I took it off.
It's from Ukraine.
Oh my gosh, she's really pretty, you guys. Blessed woman.
Ooh, a hat I can wear in Greece.
It's not a hat.
It's not. Oh, my egg apron!
He did it.
It's great. They can gather eggs.
So cute. It's really cute. It's a cute one.
That's the best. You're welcome.
Okay, so the reason it's called Ballerina Farm is because Hannah has wanted to be a ballerina. It is extremely difficult to get into Juilliard. They only accept every year 12 males and 12 females. And just if you've ever seen any clips of her dancing on the internet, she's absolutely graceful and gorgeous. And he kind of convinced her to marry him before she even finished. She's the only woman ever who got pregnant at Juilliard, basically forestalling her career. Some people think that he was kind of stalked her because she refused to go out with him because she was so committed to being a dancer. As you heard, her dream was to go to New York to dance. And he stalked her. He found out what plane she was on when she was making a trip to New York to go to Juilliard. He pulled some strings with the airlines and booked the seat next to her. That's stalkerish. Somehow convinced her to get engaged with him within 3 months, and then they got married, and immediately she got pregnant. So I think that she did maybe spend some time teaching or working ballet, but the name Ballerina Farm to me is so insulting because it's reminding her every day of what she wasn't allowed to be. I think he would have been better off, but this is where their Mormon stuff comes in, to wait with the children until she had finished Juilliard and spent some time in her dancing career. He took that from her and she let herself have that taken, I guess both, and pressuring her to have these kids right away, and she wanting to be this devout, beautiful Christian woman. We'll get into the Mormonism in a bit. I can't say that I blame him entirely. I think a lot of it has to do with the religion, but that is a dream she no longer has. So why call it Ballerina Farm? Why rub that in her face every day? And the other reason I think he has a hand in it, as you'll see if you read the interview, is that during the interview, he hovered around the whole time. It would have been nice if he would have taken all the kids outside or in the schoolhouse and given Hannah some time with the interviewer, and it's like, hey, you ladies want to have some tea, you guys go and talk and do your interview. But he hovered around the whole time, and Hannah was always like looking to him for whether what was he was approving of what she had to say. And then on that property, he built her a studio for her ballerina work, her ballet studio. But then they converted it to a schoolhouse for the kids. So she still has no ballerina place, okay? She has no degree from Juilliard. She has no ballerina house anymore. And even the sequins that, even her beautiful dresses, he put them in the garage. This is not the kind of husband that I would want. And then you hear all these guys going, yeah, they would love a woman like that. to get a woman like that, you have to be a Mormon, and you kind of have to have some money too, but anyway. And then when she wanted that for her birthday, he gave her an apron. Now, if that's what she really wanted, they were poor, but they're rich. And she's trying, and you can see how phony she's acting, because she was all excited. She thought it was going to be a gift, a trip for both of them to go to Greece together. And he gave her an apron, which is like, stay in the kitchen, woman. That's where you belong. And because she didn't say thank you, he said, you're welcome. He's kind of an ass. I don't even think he's attractive. He looks very smug. I don't like this Daniel guy. But she's, you know, going along with the whole thing. Okay. I just think that he could treat her a little bit better. Okay, so now I want to go to some other clips. There's another YouTube channel I often watch called Cults to Consciousness, and it's Shalise and her husband. I can't remember his name. She just had a baby a few months ago, and she grew up Mormon. And what their channel is about, they interview a lot of people who have left high demand religions. Shalise on her channel talks a lot about how she was raised to be a good Mormon girl, how from the time the women are young, they're raised like you should never be sexual, you must always dress modest, you should never, your sexuality is bad, it's all for your husband, you're on this earth to serve your husband, to pump out babies, and your husband is your master and you're subservient to him. And many people who have left the Mormon religion will call it a cult. Okay, so now in this interview, Shalise has on a guest. I can't remember her name now, but she also was a Mormon wife. So the ladies I'm going to show you in the next 3 clips are all women who are raised Mormon and have left the Mormon religion because of the extreme control. But first, okay, in that one, the lady who's interviewed on the Cults to Consciousness channel is Jenny Gage. She's a former LDS Tradwife and content creator, and she talks about what it was like. She was like a Hannah Neeleman herself, and how much happier she is now that she is not with her husband anymore. The other one I'm going to be showing you is a woman. I really love her video. I hope you watch this. I'm going to put all these links in the description. Emerging Motherhood. And she made a 34-minute video called Red Flags on the Farm. What is the issue with Ballerina Farm? Okay. But first I'm going to show you another clip from Lael Hansen, where she's showing a woman on TikTok who also left the Mormon cult, the LDS cult, and she explains why this is a cult, that Hannah really doesn't have a choice. Because these women and men are brainwashed that they have to behave a certain way, and that they will only gain entry into heaven if they have a lot of children, if they follow their husband's lead, if they're just good enough. And there's a lot of pressure. You don't really get to find out who you are. You're forced to marry very young. You don't really know yourself, and you're thrust into this role of serving everybody else, which is what you do as a mother. It's a life of service, but it's so important to have times and spaces carved out for us to maintain our own individuality. And a lot of that was probably taken from Hannah. I'm gonna guess that she's gonna keep popping out babies till her uterus falls out, or she gets some kind of chronic disease due to all the stress in her life. Or maybe one day when her kids are older, she's just going to divorce her husband. I doubt that she's thriving. That's a lot of stress on a body, to have all those pregnancies and to work so hard and not to have any time for yourself. Even her husband says sometimes she spends a week in bed because she can't get up. Maybe she's just depressed. And she is smiling a lot. Hannah is smiling a lot on these videos. But have you seen the Maddie Soto pictures? That girl that was SA'd by the mom's boyfriend, Steven Stearns, from the time she was 8 to she was 13, and he unalived her. Maddie is smiling in every picture, and I kept thinking, how can she smile when she is abused by this guy and has to sleep in his bed every night? So just because someone smiles doesn't mean that they're happy. So now I'm going to put these next 3 clips together just to make it easier for my editing because I have so many clips. The first clip will be the Mormon woman from TikTok. Then there will be the interview from Cults to Consciousness. And then there will be the lady from the Motherhood podcast, who talks about how men will isolate women by letting them have so many children, and how they try to maintain control, and that the only creativity that she could express in her marriage was creativity in the kitchen. So, and then that's going to close out this video. I won't be back on the other side because this is about all I have space to do. So I'll be back for the comments. And again, I just want to say that I'm not trying to put them down or anything, but just some things to be aware of that we might not be seeing in these curated Instagram or TikTok or YouTube videos. We don't always get to see what people's real life is like. And when people are unhappy with their lives, often they don't even realize it, or they don't really want to say, because what can they really do? And I'm sure she loves being a mom, but I would think that she would thrive a lot more if her husband got her some help and took her on that trip to Greece and built her a ballet studio. And maybe she would rather teach dancing than milk the cows. And she's just milking the cows because she wants to be a good Christian, a good Mormon, and please her husband. And that's how she's pleasing God. So anyway, so here are the clips.
Anna is a member of a cult, and that is informing all of these choices that she's making. So yes, the article is heartbreaking, but I don't see it so much as a conversation about feminism. I see it as she is an indoctrinated victim of a large cult, the LDS Church. Why am I qualified to speak on this? Because I also grew up in a cult, a religious Christian cult. Ex-Mormons and ex-JWs refer to each other as cult cousins. They're both new American cults that were started in the 19th century by wealthy white con men who had mental illness and thought they were special and being led by God to bring the true religion to people. Who isn't interested in Ballerina farms? She has this beautiful, precious looking life. Beneath the surface, there is danger lurking. This is a woman who is not an autonomous individual. And I've seen women on here saying things like, well, I don't want to speak about her life because she is a grown woman. She is an autonomous person. She has free will. She's making choices. No, she isn't. She's being told that she has to obey her husband. And it's so clear when you read the article. The reporter pointed out every time that the man interrupted her, every time that he spoke for her, every time in their lives when clearly he is pulling strings and making choices that are not best for her long-term well-being, whether financially, whether physically. I mean, she's going to keep popping out a baby every year until her womb falls.
Joyce, I love that you brought up some of the Mormon doctrine behind it, because whenever I talk about being the traditional Mormon wife on my social medias, everybody's like, well, that was your choice. Like, you chose wrong. But it wasn't a choice. I was actually listening to what my Mormon church told me I was supposed to be doing. And I was a good Mormon, so I was doing it. There's a talk by Elder Oaks just last year where he says, don't delay marriage until you are of marriageable age, 2023. He says, don't wait until you're what the world considers marriageable age. And he says, I'm heartbroken that men are delaying marriage from the average age of 22 to now the world isn't getting married until they're 28. I'm heartbroken over that. And I'm reading this going, I mean, 28 is still kind of young. Like, you're not usually super established in a career. You don't know what you're doing yet. Like, you're pushed as a Mormon to get married. So when I went to Rick's College, which is BYU Idaho now, I got engaged when I was 17 the first time. And nobody was upset about that. Everybody was thrilled. My mom, my grandma, like everyone at school, all of my professors and everyone. It's like, yes, you found your eternal companion early. So now we don't have to worry about it for you.
Still trying to hold on to her dreams of being a ballerina, but that's where the isolation starts. Because that's how these relationships start to gain control, is they have to isolate you. They have to get you away from everybody you know and love, your country, your cultures, in any way to the most extreme that they can. They want to isolate you. Even if it's that they just start to talk shit about your friends, that you start to feel uncomfortable around them. Maybe it's not going to be completely overt, but they're going to try to isolate you. In her case, they went to Brazil. As soon as she had 3 kids, we're starting to get to that marker where they start to think, well, she's outnumbered. What is she going to do? They move back to America, and they're on a 328-acre farm where she continues to have 8 kids. God only knows if they're going to have more. It gets to a certain point where you do start to feel where you're drowning in fucking children. You're drowning in life. And I feel like that's where her success comes from. She was a Juilliard-trained ballerina. That is so hard to get into Juilliard. I'm pretty sure it's how hard to get into Juilliard. The Juilliard school is highly competitive and has a low acceptance rate, often between 5 to 8%. The exact rate varies by year and program, blah, blah, blah. So it's a prestigious school, really hard to get into, and she made it into Juilliard. Dancing was not just a tiny little thing in her life. It was a huge thing in her life. And so when they moved to the farm, she's supposed to have the little shed that's supposed to be for her dancing, and now it's the kids' schoolhouse. Once you're isolated physically from everybody you know, now you're gonna get isolated from yourself and the things that you find enjoyment in and the things that you love and you cherish are just gonna slowly get scooted to the side. It's not some huge overt thing. It's just a tiny little thing like, oh babe, there are so many baby clothes in our closet. Why don't we just take these gowns that you don't really wear that often? Why don't we just throw them in the garage really quick? And just little by little, you kind of get scooted out of your own life. And now you're kind of just this shell of a person that's just, what are you doing? I feel like what she's doing is searching for new recipes and always having a new baby. There's always something new happening. If it's not that, it's a pageant. But there's always something happening to look forward to keep her distracted from her life. Because she even says that's why she did the fucking pageant, because her sister was like, hey, why don't we break up from, all of this. It is monotony. It does get old. It does get tired. That's why there's so much creativity in the kitchen. I've been there. I totally understand what